contribute to something they say is called the digital dividend. I leave it for the professionals here to explain that in greater detail to the public. A lot has been done, but a lot still remains to be done. I've been informed that technical transmission standards have been published. Conformance regime for the receivers have also been published, with the certification awarded to over 100 different models of the DTT, the set-top boxes and the TV sets. The structures that need to be set up, including the guidelines and deliverables that are needed, and how the platform itself is going to be managed, is an issue of concern to the stakeholders. It is something that we will take on board and would be grateful for whatever suggestions that may come from this and other meetings, and would also include in the considerations that are going to be finalized. The mandatory obligations for everything, every right comes with responsibilities, and so we can't just take the opportunities that are created and just run with it. We would all have to use the opportunities that are coming up responsibly in the interest of the final consumer out there, and also benefit from it in terms of the profits that the industry players will make from it.
Minister for Communication, Minister Designate for Communications, Esla also Ekufo there. Still watching the Pulse. We'll be right back. Please stay with us. Well, we'll be having a conversation on what's happening in the Gambia. Before we do that, though, let's cross over quickly to Kumasi, where Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has arrived at the funeral ground, the funeral of Asante Hima Nana Sewa Ampem. Let's go now and have
Samira Bawumia mourning with us here on the third day of the 4 days burial rites of Nana Afia Kobi Sewa Ampem.
Yes, sir. Sadly, Vice President Abba, Mufri Kwam Namuko Baby Anamo. Yes, sir.
His Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, exchanging pleasantries with Sir Sam Jonah and wife. Of course, dignitaries on the days. He will fire past the body of our beloved, the late Asante Hima, before he will pay homage to His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we welcome the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
So those are visuals coming to you live from Kumasi. This is a feed from our sister station, Adom FM, and that is the funeral, the third day of the funeral for Nana Sewa Efia Kobi Ampem II, who has passed on. And Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has just arrived, and that is a drone shot, the drone actually tracking him to wherever it is that he's going. We will hear some gunshots there as well, and that is Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, who is mourning. And of course, the whole of Asante Maya is mourning along with him. Tomorrow, Nana Sewa Efia Kobi Ampem will be put to rest. And that will be it for the first part of the funeral, because we understand there is another part of the funeral, and this is not the real funeral as they explain it in traditional terms. This is the dotier, and it is not the real funeral. But she will be put to rest tomorrow, and I believe in due course the real funeral will happen.
So what do you
So that's just so you know, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bamia has arrived at Benshia, where the funeral is happening. Right now, though, let's talk about Gambia. Well, it's a day to the inauguration of the president-elect of the Gambia, Adama Barrow, and already defeated incumbent President Yahya Jammeh has declared 90 days of a state emergency. Now, this is coming weeks after he declared he was not going to accept the election results of December 1 because he says they were fraught with irregularities. But as the days go by, it seems that the security situation in that country keeps worsening. Let's first speak to a Senegambian journalist who is producer at Joy News, my colleague Jaho Nyan. It's taken me a while to get her into the studio, but she's here. We're talking about Gambia. First of all, let me ask how your family is doing back in Gambia.
My family is still safe. There's been no updates as to anything untoward, and so we take no news as good news at this point in time.
As good news at this point, because we understand that some people were leaving. There's an exodus to Senegal.
Yes, there's been an exodus to Senegal. Actually, it's been going on for quite a while now. I think right from about 8th January 10 to about 10 January, that is when the exodus started. So it's not something new that is cropping up. Already right from the time that the about phase happened, a lot of people started, sort of saying goodbye to their lives in Gambia and looking for safer shores to be at. So there has been an exodus so far. The borders are still open. The airport is still functioning. The ferry lines, I understand, even though it's come under huge stress in the past couple of hours, is still functioning. I'm also getting some information that some fishermen, there's a place called Tangi, it's a big fishing village. There are a couple of Ghanaians there. There's actually a place called Ghana Town just by Tangi. And some fishermen, they are actually turning their fishing boats into I shouldn't say commercial, but public transport, so that they can
transport people from that place
to either Senegal or further up inland. Because remember that Gambia is quite a long country, and so most people feel that if there's going to be any unrest to happen around the Banjul, Bakau, Kombo St. Mary area, and so most of them are moving further up the river to places like Farafenni, Brikama, and also Bansang.
I see. It's a very worrying situation, and if you follow the story, viewers, that after this election, there's been a lot of things happening. I mean, just within this week, we've had a lot of interesting things happening. The ECOWAS has sought to engage him. He said he's open to dialogue, but of course, we knew that there was a date that had to be respected. First of all, what is the latest on the situation? We know as of yesterday that there had been a dog bite that killed the son of the president-elect. We know the president-elect is out of Gambia. He's in Senegal right now on the advice of ECOWAS. We know also that the president has declared a 90-day
state of
emergency. And some of his ministers, of course, have resigned. But then he got Parliament to work. It's just a lot of information coming out.
Well, technically speaking, he didn't get Parliament to work. There's still a lot of, the jury is still out. In fact, when it comes to the legality of that state of emergency that was declared, the jury is still out on it. There have been numerous Facebook posts, and different lawyers have been coming in seeking to interpret the Constitution that gives the executive the power to call a state of emergency. And a lot of people are saying that, number one, there wasn't a quorum wasn't formed in Parliament, so that couldn't have happened. And others also saying that the conditions that the Constitution gives for a state of emergency to be called were not met. Unfortunately, I don't have that legal training, so I can't really go into details. But
that's okay. But from a lay point of view,
from a lay point of view, there's been a lot of debate as to whether even that state of emergency is legal.
So in terms of the latest that has happened, where is the whereabouts of Yahya Jammeh? Do we know? Is he in Gambia?
There's been a lot of rumors going around, especially on social media. There are rumors that he fled to Guinea-Conakry sometime last night, and that Alpha Condé, who is the military ruler of Guinea-Conakry, has given him asylum. However, those rumors have been debunked by other sources who are saying that no, his plane is still on the tarmac. The sources are telling them that apart from the plane being on the tarmac, there's a flight tracking software, and according to that flight tracking software, he's still actually in the Gambia. So there's a lot of debate as to whether he's still in the Gambia or not.
Now we're looking at an inauguration day, which was on the 19th of January,
which is tomorrow.
And today, Today is the 18th. How is that going? How is that going to happen?
Well, once again, there's a lot of uncertainty as to how the inauguration will go tomorrow. Some are saying that it's expected that Adama Barrow would storm in or troop in with military backing from ECOWAS and ECOMOG and also a couple of Western allies into Gambia for that inauguration tomorrow in Bakau. Others are saying that he might have to end up getting inaugurated at the embassy, Gambian embassy in Dakar, because that is still considered Gambian soil. Yeah. How that will happen, where the CJs, what the organizational, it must be a logistical nightmare trying to organize an inauguration under such circumstances. How that would happen
for a country that has not gone through it for what, over 20 years?
Yes, we've not had a changeover in government for over 20 years. And you have to remember that this is only the second government of the Gambia. The first government was under Dr. Kayaba Jawara, and then Jame
came in through a coup.
Yes, well, yeah, it was a coup, but it wasn't a coup in the traditional sense where you have gunshots. He marched into an empty state house, so that was the case. So in terms of having civil strife, having guns, boots on the ground, Gambia has never had that experience. And yes, in terms of a peaceful handover of power from one government to another, we haven't had that experience, and doing it under these circumstances makes it that much more difficult. I just want to go quickly to the Facebook page of Ahmed Maifati.
Okay, we know that there's a hashtag that's trending on social media. That's what Gambia has decided. What really is that all about?
It's a hashtag that has been trending for a very long time. As I said, I think right from the Friday that Yahya Jammeh did this about face, that's the week after the election results were declared, that started trending, that the people of Gambia have decided, and so it's not up to him to change his mind or not. A lot of things that happen on that hashtag. You have people that are organizing crowdfunding donations with people in the diaspora. Right now,
and that's the page behind us.
Yes,
if we could go to that page,
GoFundMe. And this is set up by someone, Ebabunjai Salah, who is actually based in the United States of America. And he's looking at
he's raised $12,936 $1,000 out of $100,000. That $100,000 is his goal.
Yes,
and he's been able to make 12,000 already. What's this for?
That is in the 22 hours. This is for humanitarian aid for Gambians that especially have moved into Senegal without any kind of support. As I was saying, the situation is kind of tricky because they are not exactly refugees. They are just more displaced people than refugees at the moment, because we don't have.
Why are they displaced? They're just leaving because of the uncertainty. They're not sure of what's going to happen. So they must have made preparations themselves as to how to survive.
Well, when you are not sure whether you will survive or not, and you're living under duress, you might not have that much preparations. Remember that the elections happened only in December 1st, and it was about December 7th that Yahya Jammeh did December 8th rather, that Yahya Jammeh did his about face. So they've not really had, it's been a month that they've had to prepare.
But you see, what do you say to people, Jahu, who say that you do this, you start creating the impression as if there's a problem, when really there is not.
Because there is a problem.
Well, hold on, there is a problem.
Yes.
But then you're blowing it out of proportion when you start seeking for donation. You start crowdfunding.
If you see the kind of pictures and the kind of videos that are coming out of Gambia in terms of the sheer number of people that are heading towards the borders with Senegal, be it the northern border or the southern border, you would realize that there is a cause for concern.
I see.
Yes.
Because it's already been called what? Gambian humanitarian crisis.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure that we're there yet. I mean, that Gambia is there yet.
For instance, this group this morning ended up feeding about, if my calculation serves me right, they have 3 camps, and each camp has got 50 to 60 people, so that is times 30, so about 100, almost 200 people.
Okay.
They ended up feeding, giving them breakfast and giving them blankets for kids because it's the Hamatan right now. That's just this morning, because this crowdfunding page was set up yesterday.
Okay.
And these are 200 families which we don't know whether they would have been able to have that kind of help, that kind of support. The Senegalese Red Cross at the moment, because as you said, the situation is very uncertain. There's no the proper definition of what is going on there. So it would be difficult to go out and seek for aid, whether it be international or whatever. However, people are still leaving the country, going into an unknown place with a different language. Remember that they speak French, Senegal is Francophone, Gambia is Anglophone, and uprooting their lives. So that is why there's this support for humanitarian crisis. And remember, these are Gambian citizens. This is not a Gambian organization. So there's a lot of feedback between the diaspora and the people on the ground. There's a lot of feedback between the diaspora and the people in Senegal. So this is this effort is in reaction to a real need that has been noticed, and that is why they come together to give. Some people give as little as $10 to try and help, because the pictures that are coming out
raise
are quite.
12,000.
Yes.
There's also the concern that has been raised that Yahya Jammeh has declared Gambia an Islamic state. Is that correct?
Well, Islamic State is on paper. That has never really worked since he declared.
But you see him go around with his Quran, and you see him do things that suggest so. So people have raised concerns about making this place, giving reason for extremists, Islamist extremists or whatever extremists to take advantage of the situation. Is that a possibility? Do you get the sense that is a possibility?
That is quite unlikely.
Okay.
If you look at the historical and the cultural context of the Gambia. It's true it has a majority Muslim population, but these are very liberal Muslims.
Okay.
We do not have a history of fundamentalism within the country. Everything is very measured, and also as a people, they are quite peace-loving, which is another reason why perhaps he was able to stay in power for 22 years, and they waited and they voted him out.
Is it the peace-loving where you love peace, or where you do famanya mate like we do most of the time?
And they voted him out. So we do not have a history of fundamental Islam in the Gambia. So that would be quite...
Okay.
It would be quite unlikely. What it would be more worrying, perhaps, would be the instability in the Casamance region that has been going on for quite a while.
Okay, hold on for me, Jaho. We've got Lavinia Adai. Lavinia Adai Mensah is a peace and security expert. Joins me on the line now. Hello, ma'am. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, good afternoon.
Well, tomorrow is supposed to be the inauguration of President-elect Adama Barrow, and Yahya Jammeh has already declared a 90-day state of emergency in the Gambia. What, from where you sit, could be the security implications?
I think, first of all, the key concern now is what happens after midnight today, because as far as ECOWAS is concerned, as far as some perspective of the Constitution is concerned, Yahya Jammeh ceases to be president by midnight today, because tomorrow is when the new president is expected to be sworn in. So the issue is that there's that vacuum that's created. Yet, because of the state of emergency, there are questions of, practicality of the inauguration ceremony going on tomorrow. It's not likely it will happen, unless, of course, there is some other force that accompanies those who have to do the swearing-in ceremony to do that tomorrow. Otherwise, practically, it's a bit impossible to do that. So that's where the security concerns lie, in terms of the vacuum that will be created. And then with the kinds of issues that have gone on, particularly the arrest of some of the military leaders and so on, the fear now is in a state where there seems to be some level of vacuum. There could be loyalists, to some of these military leaders who were arrested by Jammeh or who have had, issues with Jammeh, including even ministers who have defected and so on. They're loyalists, deciding that, well, we would have to then support, since Jammeh does not seem to have cooperated with any of the pacific means and opportunities that have been presented to him.
We're looking at, I beg your pardon, we're looking at a situation where the president, who of course is still president, has declared a state of emergency. And we're looking at the inauguration as well tomorrow. How will, say, the police, the military personnel, all the security agencies in the country, how will they fit in, into this friction that we're seeing happening between these two leaders?
We have a situation, from our reports that we're getting, we have a situation where you still have elements within the security forces still holding out loyal to the current president, Yahya Jammeh. But we also have quite a number of them who have defected. As we speak, a number of them are off in Casamance. Just this morning, about 60 of them, fled off and went to the Casamance. A number of them have been arrested. These are people that have got, again, loyalists within still the security forces. So it's not everybody that supports him. Now, even beyond that, the question is, come tomorrow, Yahya Jammeh will still have some people that still support him. And if he calls out orders, they will obey those orders. And that's when we're saying that practically we're wondering how the inauguration would happen tomorrow without some kind of, use of force. Because then he would order people, there's a state of emergency, and then disobedience, civil disobedience is not allowed under the Constitution. So anybody that is seen to be doing things, within a state of emergency, the conditions of a state of emergency, falls foul of the law, and then could be arrested, etc., etc. And so there is that fear, but then also that you have those that are not loyal to him that could decide that, well, we want to use force, and that is what we are not hoping for. The best, scenario under the circumstances. I mean, there's still a very small opportunity. We still have a few hours to midnight, and ECOWAS is still frantically trying to, pull out and stretch out its hand to Yahya Jammeh to say, look, let's negotiate, let's look at the options that we have, etc., including possibility of, asylum for him in another state, So there's still midnight, but it's not looking like it's going to happen. So the best option that we're looking at is use of force by ECOWAS.
Okay.
Which then is a legitimate use of force under international law.
All right,
yes.
But we're already learning that Nigeria has sent a warship to the Gambia, and
well, it's still hanging out in the waters, yes.
Yeah, and we're looking at really what does this action signify? You've already indicated that it will be legitimate use of force, but is that the best way? Is that the only option available to the regional body?
Under the circumstances, because as I said, according to the Constitution, there was a president-elect who should be inaugurated tomorrow, and so by midnight to tonight, the president Yahya Jammeh is to be president.
Ceases to be president
according to the Constitution, which is what ECOWAS goes with. ECOWAS goes with the Constitution. Okay. However, Yahya Jammeh has argued that, he has put in a petition to the court. The court has not signed. The court only said we will sit later in May at the earliest. There was another petition he put in to stop the inauguration. That also has not been heard because there's no sitting. There are not enough judges to sit to hear that case. So as far as everybody is concerned, nothing is stopping the inauguration from taking place legally because the petition he put in has not been heard. So ideally, all things being equal, we are going with the law. So as far as ECOWAS is concerned, anything that is interrupting the legal or constitutional processes within a country, ECOWAS can come in. So from tomorrow, ECOWAS then has no other option but to save the people of Gambia by stepping into a situation of vacuum and a situation of constitutional crisis or unconstitutionality, depending on where you're looking at it from, to say we then become the force to then try to bring stability.
I don't know if you would be happy to comment on this, but we're looking at women and children who are usually the people who suffer most in these cases. If the ECOWAS decides to go in with force, what would you say should be their considerations as far as women and children are concerned, and what should, because you already foresee that you're taking this action that is going to cost lives, if I can put it that way. What should be the necessary provisions that the ECOWAS should make concerning women and children in this case?
I think there are very clear rules of engagement, that are used in such in peace enforcement missions. And, the military and even the police are quite clear on what those rules of engagement are. They've been well trained on this. And so what they do is apply those rules of engagement and ensure that there's, mitigation in terms of civilian casualties. They're also trained on how to deal with civilians and protect civilians. So I think those codes of conduct and rules of engagement will apply. And I believe strongly that West Africa has very good, personnel that are sent out, and they will apply those.
Is it possible to foresee or predict or think even that the forces, the military, the security forces in the Gambia will switch sides the moment or by tomorrow, because as you said, Yahya Jammeh's term ends tonight or at midnight. Is it possible? Is it something that we can even think that they will necessarily automatically switch sides and begin to take orders from Adama Barrow wherever he is?
We might see some more defections, but I would not, be too optimistic about everybody within the security forces suddenly dropping allegiance to Yahya Jammeh.
At least the leaders?
Time, well, I wouldn't say necessarily that all of them. I think over the years, Yahya Jammeh has been in power for a very long time. And I think over the years, there's a track record of, how his relationship with various people is, and what happens when he falls out or you fall out with him. And I think that is still something that is at the back of the minds of people that are around him. So even if some people wanted to defect, I think they might think twice about how they want to do that and when they want to do that.
Okay.
So I don't expect automatically that everybody is suddenly going to drop and then support Adama Barrow. In any case, he hasn't been sworn in yet, and then he might not be sworn in tomorrow.
Okay, I say a very big thank you. But well, before I let you go, a quick one. My colleague is here in the studio with me, and she has got Gambian roots as well. She tells me that it's possible that Adama Barrow may be sworn in at the embassy, at the Gambian embassy elsewhere, wherever he is. He is in Senegal right now. That it's possible for him to be sworn in the embassy. If he does that, will there be any security implications, in the Gambia?
Well, there is still that possibility because, the embassy is an extension of the territory of Gambia. I don't know, what other conditions may prevent his full recognition as of that swearing in. But if that happens, I'm not sure what the security implications will be necessarily beyond the analysis that we have done. It might not necessarily change much in terms of Yahya Jammeh's own agenda and what he has. He does have an agenda, and he's been playing it out, from day to day. So I'm not sure what it does, but maybe it would certainly contribute to narrowing his pace of operation.
I'll let you go once again. I've just seen a story on myjoyonline.com, and the story says the Gambia crisis, President Akufo-Addo advised not to interfere. And I'm going to try and read for you the very first paragraph, just so you give us what you think of that. It says the Director of Academic Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College says it will be imprudent for Ghana on its own to take any action against President of the Gambia, Yahya Jammeh. And I'm interested to know what you think of that. There's a quote down there. It says that if the situation gets worse, we should find a way of evacuating our nationals. That is the only thing we can do. But to take the law into our own hands and want to intervene, unless we're doing it in the name of ECOWAS, is not allowed. Do you get the feeling that he's not saying anything different? Basically saying that the ECOWAS can go in with force, but Ghana cannot do anything on its own as a country.
I think that is yes, that is the case for every country. Okay. No country under the ECOWAS protocols that we have all signed up to, no country can intervene on its own because that becomes an act of aggression, and therefore it has to be under, the blessing of ECOWAS. And even with ECOWAS needs an endorsement of the African Union before it can intervene, and even of the United Nations before it can intervene.
So then, should we evacuate Ghanaians in the Gambia at this point?
I don't know what the state of whether there's any particular threat to Ghanaians specifically. There
isn't?
So I said I don't know if there is a specific threat to Ghanaians exclusively, or that heightens that that threatens their lives, and therefore there has to be that evacuation. I don't know, so I can't really say if that should happen at this point.
But as a preventive measure, would you, if you were to advise, say, the government, is that a move you would ask them to do?
It depends on how the evacuation will be done.
Okay.
Because we're not sure how are you going to go in and do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Lavinia Diamond-San is a peace and security expert, and we've been engaging her on the Gambian situation, Ghana's own role in that situation. Before that, I had Jahu in studio with me. Jahu Nyan is Ghanaian. She's got Gambian roots as well, and she's helping us to, put the matter or the issue in perspective. Jahu, before I let you go, what's happening on social media? You've got a lot of, you got links with the Gambians on social media.
Yes.
So tell us what's happening there.
Well,
some new updates.
I just want to go first of all straight to the Facebook page of Mai Ahmed Fatty, and he's the spokesperson.
Mai Ahmed Fatty, okay.
And he's the spokesperson of Adama Barrow, who is the president-elect in Gambia, who is currently in Senegal. And he posted this about an hour ago. He's saying, "The Gambia shall make glorious history tomorrow, and inshallah, nothing shall avert that. Those who resist peaceful change effected 12 midnight tonight shall face definite consequences to their peril. Anyone with firearms tonight shall be deemed a rebel and will certainly become a legitimate target." Now that's quite...
Sounds like a very strong worded piece of writing.
Very, very strongly worded, and it's telling them, I think it uncategorically states the position of Adama Barrow in his team at this point in time. It looks as if for them, the time for negotiations is over. 19th January, come hell or high water, they are supposed to come into power, and that is what they are determined to do.
There's something else?
It's something else that's just coming in, and this is from Seni MK Marina. He's also a journalist, a Gambian journalist.
The way you mention the name, you've got to go slow, so we can follow the name. What's the name again?
Seni
Marina.
Yes.
Marina.
We've spoken to him a number of times as Joy News. He's a journalist in exile in Dakar at the moment, and he is saying that it's been confirmed, and there were rumors earlier on, but he's saying that there's been confirmed that Gambia's Vice President Aissatou Seydi has resigned, and she's the latest in a number of high-ranking government officials who have jumped ship. And this is quite significant because
but that's on social media. We need to make that clear.
If it is true.
Right, because people can use social media to push agenda, even before it happens.
Yes.
They push it to set people's minds to it. So we're not really sure.
We're not too sure at the moment.
But he's a journalist in exile, you say.
Exile.
And this is
he's
what
not in the Gambia, he's in Senegal.
He's in
Dakar.
Senegal, okay. And this is what he's put on his social media, his Facebook, basically saying that the vice president has defected.
Yes, that's what he's saying. But remember that there's been a mass exodus, and for me the big question is that even if after this Jammeh still somehow manages to cling to power, I'm just wondering if you would have a functioning government to be able to run the country, seeing that his cabinet is currently half empty.
Will that be your final word?
That would be my final word.
That would be your final word. It's good to have you, Jahu. Always love working with her. Jahu is such a great person. And she has got Gambian roots as well. She works here with us at Joy News, but of course, she says her family in Gambia are safe. And we hope that the whole of Gambia will be safe. Just as I talk about safety, nearly 200 people were killed through road accidents in Ghana last year. And that's just part of the worrying statistics which has just been released by the National Road Safety Commission. They are saying that road safety situation in our country is worsening. We'll bring you all the details right after this break. Please stay with us.